Hey everyone. So in this podcast, we ran into a couple of technical difficulties. Halfway through this podcast, our cameras actually ran out of storage. So once we reach that point, I'll put up some videos of Formula Drift. But until that point, enjoy the podcast. Hey everybody, welcome to our podcast about Formula Drift this season. We're recapping the 2024 season that recently just ended past 4 days ago? Yeah. Today's currently Wednesday, and it happened last Saturday. And for the new people who don't know what Formula Drift is, then make sure to check out the video that I made. I'll link it up in the top corner somewhere. So go check that out, and that'll give a good description of how everything worked. So just to make sure your phones are muted. That's my bad. But basically, so the first thing that we gotta mention is the fact that James Deane demolished this season, which is a given,
right? Yeah,
because he won the 2024 championship, right? And that makes it his 21st championship ever. Right. And there's no other drifter who's been doing that. He's the first 4-time champion. Right. So 4 of those 21 are from Formula Drift alone. And then he does other ones like Drift Masters and something in Poland, I'm pretty sure.
Right. I mean, 3 of them. He's 3-time champ in England.
I think he is, yeah. Yeah.
And Drift Masters, he's also a 3-time there, so.
Right.
Just an absolute demon.
Well, no, I don't know what it is, but no one can drift like he drifts, and I don't know what he does. I don't know what is special about what he does. All I know is that he puts the car where he wants to put the car, and he's inches away from every driver every single time.
Now, I will say, though, Hiroya.
Oh, my God. All right, so for those who are unfamiliar, there is a 14-year-old kid named Hiroya Minowa who came over from Japan to Formula Drift America to compete, because he's been doing Formula Drift Japan, because there's the regular Formula Drift in America, and then there's the Formula Drift Japan, and that's what he competes in regularly. So funny story about that is he actually had to battle his his school district, and he had to battle his the actual government. He had to get special permission so that he can come over to America and compete in the competitions.
Well, I mean, yeah. I would think so, given he literally isn't even allowed to have a permit, rather a license.
Right, bro can't even drive legally on the highway right now, and I think he placed 5th in the championship.
Yeah, I think he was 5th. No, but that, jumping straight into battles, the St. Louis battle.
Right.
Where,
yeah.
Personally, from bystander, maybe a little biased because he's a little kid, but I think he should have won that battle. I think he should have won.
I watched all the replays. I'm on my phone here trying to figure out what he placed in the championship. I think it was 5th, but basically, so I watched all the replays back on that run, that final between him and James Deane. For those who don't know, James Deane won that event in St. Louis this year, back in June. But I looked back on the clips, and the argument is that Minowa was closer to the wall and he did better on the lead, but James Deane was closer on the chase on the second half.
Yeah. But
Minowa was closer on, so the judges had to kind of decide what they wanted to reward, or something in the rule book, what was rewarded more. Right. And I'm sure it went in James Deane's way. And the judges are really good at what they do. We have to give props to the judges.
Oh, for sure.
Because I feel like it's every single live stream. Mr. Jacob Gettins, he's the assistant commentator next to Jared Deanda, and he said that every single round, he says judging Formula Drift is not a job you want to have. And if you're the kind of person that says you want to be an FD judge, then you probably aren't going to be a good fit for the job anyway. Right. But that's the craziest part about it is it's just so controversial, because it's a judge sport and it's very strict on the rule book. But then a lot of the time, some of the viewers watching don't know why they went certain ways. Because just to name a few crazy controversies this year was, do you remember Matt Field and Adam LZ in Atlanta? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Matt Field and Adam LZ in Irwindale was a pretty controversial battle, because Adam LZ basically Matt Field hit the rear of Adam LZ's car when he was in the lead, which caused Adam LZ to basically stop drifting. Right. But the judge's argument with that, and the reason that they said it was Adam LZ's fault, was because in the driver's meeting, before the event, where the judges tell them what they need to be doing, they basically told the drivers that no matter what, you need to do everything in your power to continue drifting.
Right.
So the reason they gave it to Matt Field was because Adam LZ technically could have continued the run, but he just shut it down because he was hit. But
which is obviously not what you're supposed to do. If you can continue drifting, you need to continue drifting.
Well, that was the big controversy. Was everybody was like, how is it not Matt Field's fault if he is clearly the one that hit Adam LZ? Well, it was because Adam LZ was supposed to continue drifting, and he was supposed to finish the run because he could have done it because he was still sideways at the time, and if he just floored it, he still could have made it through the finish line.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm trying to think about some other controversial. Stuff because I could add about anything about each battle. So let's do that real quick. So let's go through cool moments about each event. So starting off with Long Beach in California. And the thing that is the craziest part to me about that battle or that event, and the thing that I think we'll never forget, is the fact that James Deane caught fire.
Yeah.
During media day, a couple of days before the event, which gave the RTR team and James Deane's squad like days to rebuild a professional drift car.
Yeah, I remember that.
From burnt toast to he literally won the event with that car. It was unbelievable, and it showed like how good the RTR team was.
Absolutely.
It was unbelievable, and it showed, and it really showed that day. But yeah, so basically, for those who don't know, James Deane was doing a practice run during media day, where like they have cameras and all those things, and they and basically the nitrous leaked into the engine, I believe, and causing it to catch fire. I'll put a clip up here on screen. But basically, that car was toast, obviously. So they had to rebuild that whole thing, and they got it done in time for the top 32 a couple days later. But yeah, that's the part I'll never forget about Long Beach, and the fact that Mike Power went crazy into the wall. Yeah, that was a hard hit. Honestly, that was kind of Mike Power's downfall. Because I mean, not a lot of people know Mike Power. Excuse me, like not a lot of people know Mike Power because he's kind of the he's a really good driver, but he's not among the top 10, right? Statistically. And so that was kind of the downfall of his season. Like I've seen his content, and he said that this season was like his worst he's ever had, just because it was just wreck after wreck and issue after issue.
For sure.
It sucks because that's the thing with drift cars is that they are under constant abuse 24/7.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like your average car where you're just driving on the street.
Right, it ain't your Honda Civic.
Right, you just got something that's, not worth a lot of money and just breaks down all the time. No, these are like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars into a car, and
per event.
Right, per event, right.
Yeah, and that was the thing we were talking about the most recent event, Irwindale. So jumping from Long Beach to Irwindale is the fact that in the finals, it was James Deane and Frederick Osbo. And Osbo shut down. I'm not sure what broke on his car. I don't know what went wrong. But you were texting me. You were like, dang, I really wish that battle would have continued, and I really wish there would have been a genuine winner rather than a by default winner. Right. Like it was in Seattle with Minowa and Turk.
Right. Which was so sad because, oh, man, I have such a big feeling Minowa's going to win that, too, because, that kid is such a stud.
I don't understand him. I genuinely don't.
He's
driving like a veteran driver.
He does come from his mother and his father, both drifting veterans in Japan. So, he has, obviously,
a whole lot of experience.
A whole lot of experience. And let's not forget the 10,000 laps on Long Beach.
Oh my God, yes. I forgot about that. No, so basically they announced on the live stream during Long Beach, the first event of the season, that Minowa, this 14-year-old kid, needed practice for this event. And so he did 10,000 laps of that track, drifting that track at his house on his simulator. I've seen his TikToks with his mom, and they will run tandems together in the sim.
I don't remember them announcing that in Long Beach, but I do remember announcing it in STL.
Yeah, I feel like they announced it like every day.
Yeah.
Like it was just so crazy because it really showed how sim drifting has become such an important role, and not only drifting but just racing. Right. Because Assetto Corsa will bring you the realistic aspect of just racing. Right.
Not sponsored, by the way.
Not sponsored. No, but yeah. So it showed that those laps like actually work because he also won the seating bracket for Long Beach. He got first place for the seating bracket because since it was his first event, no points on the previous score, right? So he was seated into the bracket and he came out and he won. No duh, because he's driving like a veteran driver. Like he's been driving like he's 35.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I know they do practice runs and whatnot, and James Deane's seen him drift, but I mean, I can only imagine whenever 14-year-old kid comes rolling up next to you, speaking barely in English, just kind of like, so
no, it was so funny. it was so funny because like his English is still very rocky. I mean,
dude, it's like
it's so cute though.
It's so funny just whenever oh man, what's her name? The reporter.
Lorette Nickel.
Yeah, Lorette. It's so funny whenever she go down there and talk to him, especially when in STL when his radio went out and he was scared to drift.
No, that was Seattle. Seattle was when his communications went down.
Yeah, his radio went out and he was scared to drift because his radio was out, and then. I mean, we were making a bunch of jokes that like he's listening to all kinds of different music in there.
Right. What kind of music do we think Minowa was listening to when he's drifting?
Like, hey man, if my music's not on, I can't do it.
Exactly.
They fix his music, he gets back out there, and his car shuts off. It's like,
yeah. So the reason he bowed out of Seattle, forfeited that final, was because of an electrical issue. I know part of it was for the radio. I'm pretty sure, but I'm sure there was more to it because I don't think his headlights were on either.
It was his bar lights that show
if
he's
the
accelerating, if he's not. Which obviously, for people who don't know, you have to have that on for the judges, so that way they can judge it properly if something were to be too close or off, or they get hit, and then those lights aren't on. Well, if he was decelling or not excelling in places where he's supposed to, then obviously the judges won't know.
Right, yeah, so those lights, so exactly what Caleb just said, was those lights, when they're green, it shows the car is accelerating, it's gaining speed, and it's gaining movement. And when it's red, that means it's the opposite, it means it's decelling, it's braking really hard. And then like blue and yellow just means like neutral and just steady.
Blue is just steady, they're just sliding.
Yeah, blue is just neither acceleration or decel, it's just steady. And the thing that comes into play the most with that is that it shows that... Like it shows when drivers should be accelerating, but they're decelling. Because I've seen a lot of wrecks before where they're in a spot where they're supposed to be accelerating, but those lights on the dash say red.
Exactly where when LZ went up on the wall in St. Louis.
Oh God, we're going there. Okay.
Because I can't remember who was battling, but I'm pretty sure he didn't.
It was Minowa. It was Minowa.
It was Minowa.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Minowa. It was either LZ just pushed it too hard off of initiation, or
he did.
Or
Minowa didn't touch him because Minowa moved on.
Well, no, I just didn't know if Minowa didn't get on the gas quick enough. I couldn't remember if it was that.
Well, no, LZ was leading. LZ was leading.
Yeah, he was leading.
Yeah, so he was leading that battle.
I've slept a couple days since then, so it's been
right. that was only like 4 months ago.
Right.
No, but so. Honestly, that could be a whole podcast in itself. Just the story of LZ throughout this 2024 season. Because he last year he had his Mustang RTR. He was a part of the RTR group with James Deane and Vaughn Gittin and all those things.
I was in the Bum Dub squad.
Right, and Chelsea Denofa. So that was that. Right, dude. It's just like an angel.
Will you ever come back with that?
That Porsche.
That Porsche.
Dude, it's so nice. But anyway. So basically, LZ went too far into the wall, basically riding his car like a skateboard on that wall, and it completely totaled his car. Because he even after that event, he came out and announced that was his last event of the season. Like that was the last thing he has. Like he doesn't have the funding, he doesn't have another chassis to build out of this to make another competition car. But then one of his good buddies, he bought another E36 chassis off of his friend, and his team went thrashing on that car and was actually able to get it back together by Seattle, which is really cool. Wow, you good?
Yeah, my eyeball itches, man. I don't know what just
Dude,
happened,
allergies are bad.
I just got the eyeball itches. I'm sure anybody watching just watched me itch my eye for about 20 seconds
Nah.
to a minute.
But no, allergies is really bad right now. But yeah, so on Elza could be his own podcast in itself. I mean, because last year he was in his Mustang. He was in a Mustang, but I mean, he didn't do anything crazy other than Englishtown because he won Englishtown last year. I mean, other than that, he was pretty low key with a whole lot of stuff. Yeah. But I mean, I just think he just drives a lot better in these BMW chassis. Like, I just think he does a lot better. Just he knows where to place the car.
Yeah, I definitely think the BMW chassis.
So I hope to see him come back in that next year. I hope to see him.
I think the Mustang. I almost think it had too much power for him.
Well, that's the thing with the Mustangs is that they're really powerful, but they're also really freaking grippy. Yeah. So like I heard Lorette Nickel talking to basically I think it was like Von Gittin Jr. where basically he was saying that those cars, if you're not flooring it or if you're not on the handbrake, you are straightening out. There's no in between. Yeah. And that's not a BMW chassis because BMWs, like, they will slide like butter. Oh, yeah,
they'll just
like butter.
Slide and slide.
But that's not an S650 Mustang, right? That's not.
But then again, that's where you see, like, whether you go to Instagram or YouTube, anywhere, and you're watching the whole joke behind Mustangs always crash, BMWs always kill the slide. Well, just like you said, if you're not on the handbrake or you're not flooring the gas and able to control it while flooring the gas, in a Mustang, of course you're going to crash.
Right.
Or you're going to straighten out. Or a BMW, just give it a little bit of gas and pull the handbrake for a second. It's just like slides like across the world. Like,
right. No, but the thing with Mustangs is like you always see those memes. There's like them at car meets like hitting people. Yeah. But that's because people in those Mustangs, they lift. Right. They lift off the gas.
Right.
So the Mustang will slide well if you keep the rear tires spinning. But once you have that wheel turned while you're doing like a burnout or you're sliding, and then you let off the gas, you will shoot in that direction and hit a pedestrian or what, or whoever is
squish somebody
or whoever is nearby.
Now, while we're on the topic of switching cars, let's talk about Odi Bakchis and Simon Olsen.
Oh no, yeah, that's a good topic. Yeah, so basically, Simon Olsen and Odi Bakchis did a podcast, or like did a quick little interview with Formula Drift before Irwindale, basically announcing that Simon Olsen is going back to the Supra, his Mark V Supra. He posted it on his Instagram, and he said that he's no longer going to be a part of the Feel Suspension team. And I think that's a smart choice for both of them, especially for Odi Bakchis because he has had one hell of a season.
Absolutely, yeah, and I mean, he's gonna get to like he said he wants to take fuel suspension. That's a tough word.
Fuel suspension,
right? And branch it out to a bunch of different people. Like I mean, more than it already is, and he's gonna be bringing somebody we don't know.
Right.
Like, we don't know who's gonna come onto the team next year. It could be a rookie. It could be a veteran. Like who knows? You know.
And those things don't really get announced until like a month before Long Beach next year. So.
That's where it's like.
So we'll be
waiting. Suspension next
we'll
year.
Be waiting in suspense for.
Absolutely, yeah.
So on my list of topics just for this podcast, I have drivers to mention. So we already talked about James Deane, 21 championships now, the first time, 4-time Formula Drift champion. And then Odi Bakchis, we just talked about him. He had a killer season. Yeah. If James Deane wasn't in this competition, he would have won it every single day. Like, he was throwing it down every single event. And I loved seeing what he could do.
We've talked about Hiro.
Talked about Hiroya Minowa. Connor Shanahan. This was Connor Shanahan's, similar to Minowa, this was his first event in the Formula Drift season.
But to counter that is he is also, just like James Deane, a 3-time champ in Drift Masters.
Right, yeah. So he is, I think he's a 3-time champion.
He is.
He is?
They mentioned it multiple times.
Gotcha. Okay. I haven't looked into Connor Shanahan a lot, but yeah. So basically,
whenever he did something good, they just always mention like,
oh really?
Well, I mean, he is like at the end of the season, whenever they were like, oh man, Connor Shanahan, him being a rookie, like they were talking about the rookie of the year between Hiroya Minowa and Connor Shanahan. When they were talking about them, he's like, well, Hiroya is a complete rookie. Mm-hmm. Like, sure, like yes, he drifted in Japan, you know, but like a full competition, I'm pretty sure he is a complete rookie. Where Connor Shanahan, he's a little older. He's got a lot of experience already, especially being 3-time champion
and being like James Deane's best friend.
Right. Yeah, they mentioned that James Deane like basically held him out of the womb or something like that.
Well,
like,
they were neighbors.
Yeah.
They were like James, like they've mentioned it a couple of times where James Deane literally held Connor Shanahan when he was a baby.
Yeah, like literally out of the womb, like when they were in the hospital.
And that's why Orlando was such like an emotional thing for all of the like really dedicated drifting fans that were there. I mean, obviously it was a sick event for everybody else who was there, just obviously, but it was just so emotional because it just showed like the spirit of drifting, because James Deane and Connor Shanahan grew up together and now they're in the finals versing each other for the win. It was so cool to see. All right, but yeah, so Connor Shanahan, great driver. I really hope to see him next year. Vaughn Gittin Jr., he was here for, I can only remember him in Atlanta and Irwindale.
Yeah, he had a bit of a rough year.
Well, no, he intentionally took like all the events off.
But he didn't. I don't know. That was the other RT I remember who didn't place.
Ben Hobson.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get into Ben Hobson here in a little bit. He's actually the next one on my note. He's actually the next one I have written down. But so Vaughn Gittin Jr., the only two that I can vividly remember is Atlanta and Irwindale. And in Atlanta, I don't know if you remember this, but he was battling James Deane, and he went into the grass.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So basically where I was at on that when I was watching that, I was like, all right. So obviously Vaughn Gittin Jr. is just doing this for fun. He's not in the run for the championship because he's only doing like 3 events of the season. I mean, because he's been like, he runs RTR and he does a whole lot of other like team leader stuff. So I was like, all right. So why would Vaughn Gittin throw down and try to beat James Deane when he's not even trying in the competition? And James Deane's his teammate. So why would you do friendly fire on your teammate and get him knocked out of the competition in the top 32? But then, and that's why everybody, including myself, thought that he faked it, where he intentionally went off the grass and he intentionally got himself out so that James Deane couldn't move forward into the competition and win. I think James Deane got like 3rd that event, I believe. Someone fact check me. But
in Seattle,
Atlanta, because Vaughn Gittin Jr. versus James Deane in Atlanta. That's what we're talking about. But then when Lorette Nickel asked him what was up, and Jared DeAnda literally on the stream goes, "Did he fake it? Ask him if he faked it."
Right.
Which
it's all slowly coming back.
Well, that was also in like April, I think.
Yeah, I mean that's.
Right. Time's flying, bro. Time is flying.
I barely know what I ate yesterday. So.
Exactly. No, but yeah, so basically he said that he's been having issues with the car and then he overestimated what it was going to do. Because in all of his practice runs, he would go up to that corner and then there would be like a certain issue that he would have to calculate. Yeah. But then for whatever reason on that run, it worked. But when he tried to predict it not working, he went off.
Yeah.
But I mean, like that drone POV that I'm thinking about that I keep seeing everywhere is such a cool POV because James Deane like almost passed him. Like I don't know if you see it. Like I'll show it up here on screen, but like it just showed him almost passing him, and everybody went crazy.
Yeah.
James the Machine Deane, Vaughn Gittin Jr. Braden initiation. James Deane. And I know he's gonna earn it. He's gonna earn it properly, but I hate to see them go and crash or a scenario like that. There goes James Deane. Oh, Vaughn goes wide and outside zone 2. James Deane. Oh, he goes for the pass. Boom! There we go, baby. Vaughn Gittin Jr. gets it back. He says, "Hey, I'm sorry, Vaughn. Step on your toes. Let's come back and bring it back, James the Machine Deane."
Yeah, because we were going crazy downstairs.
Well, because obviously you can't pass in Formula Drift.
Right.
But no, I mean,
it would have been funny if you did.
Right.
Granted, they would have lost, but
well, no, well, because technically, since Vaughn Gittin Jr. was in the lead and he went 3 tires off in the lead, technically both of them can stop drifting right there because the run's over.
Right.
Because the leader went off course, that's a 0, and then the chase would have nothing to chase.
Yeah.
Therefore, he doesn't have to drift anyway. So anything after that point was just for fun. All right, so the next person I have is Ben Hobson.
Ben Hobson, yeah.
So
bit of a rough year for him.
worst part about that is the fact that I was so looking forward to it. Because last year, when he was the 2023 Pro Spec champion, I was like, okay, he was shredding. He had an S15, I believe, in Pro Spec last year. And then he jumped up to Pro this year and joined Von Gittin Jr. in the RTR team. And I was so looking forward to it because Ben Hobson is an amazing driver, but I don't think he is in a Mustang.
Yeah, I don't think Ben Hobson's a Mustang, and that's where it's so difficult going from an S15.
It's a completely different thing.
Like it's such
Japanese
a
tuner
big
to pure
change.
American muscle is not the same.
It's so different to where I feel like a lot of drivers struggle. Like it was good because what's his name? Air Force.
Brandon Sorensen.
Brandon Sorensen. He's been driving the same car since Prospect, and he's just getting better and better
with
and
that
better,
one
and
chassis,
killing it more and more and more. And then this last event, he killed it for a good bit, and then obviously lost. But
right,
because he's not quite to that point yet, where I think he could win a pro, but he
has more than the potential,
right? In the car that he's in,
right.
Whereas if Ben Hobson stayed in the S15, he could have won this year.
Honestly, I think if Ben Hobson didn't go to the RTR team and stayed in his S15, he would have been a top 10 driver. Yeah. He would have been up there in the top 10 because he was just bullying everybody in Pro Spec, hilariously.
Yeah. He was basically the James Deane of Pro Spec.
He was the James Deane of Pro Spec in 2023. But yeah, so I really hope to see, but I mean, also it could be the same thing with James Deane because last year James Deane was in the same Mustang he is in now, and he placed 5th in the championship. And the fun fact, that was the first year that James Deane was in Formula Drift that he didn't win. Yeah. The only seasons that James Deane's participated in, he won, except for last year,
right?
Because he was getting new to the Mustang. So maybe it'll be something like that with last year. So maybe Ben Hobson will come back swinging next year and get top 5.
Yeah, I mean,
I hope to see that.
For James Deane, he's a very, very skilled driver, obviously, but
more than that.
But you got to also look at he drives 2 different cars. Because whenever he drifts in England with Drift Masters, he drives S15. I think it's an S15. I don't think it's a BMW. I think it's an S15.
Well, he does have a BMW, an E92 or something.
I think so. Yeah,
I don't know.
But he goes from, because I mean, literally they had a post that they were doing their like top 16 or whatever in England, and then 2 days later he's here, drifting. He's just drift after drift after drift after drift. I mean, he literally eats, sleeps, breathes drift.
Well, yeah,
legitimately after like just what Jared says, and they're eat, sleep, breathe, drift.
Right, and that was also something that we should mention is that James Deane was not only competing in every event for the Formula Drift season, but he was also competing in every event for Drift Masters. So he was flying back and forth from Drift Masters to Formula Drift. Correct.
That's a lot of money.
But also, the thing that I was thinking about was that's a lot of jet lag. That's a lot. Like, I don't know how he manages to sleep and he can stay awake behind that steering wheel.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean, I guess for somebody who's been doing it for so long now,
right?
Like maybe his first year doing Formula Drift and Drift Masters, it may have been a little bit of a struggle. But now that he's 5 years deep in this, going on 6 now, 6 years deep in this, it's like he probably sleeps on the plane. He probably,
I'm sure he has his whole schedule figured out. Like, I'm sure he has all of it locked in.
We don't need to know James Deane. I mean, it would be cool, but
anyway. All right, so the next one I have on my list is just to continue with the RTR theme, Chelsea Denofa, what he's been up to, because he retired after he won last year.
Yeah.
So,
and for people who don't know, he didn't retire just because he won. He actually said that he was retiring before the event. So going into Irwindale, the last event of the season last year, basically what he did was he publicly announced that he was retiring no matter what the outcome is, because he hadn't won yet. So whether or not he wins that event and gets the championship that day, he's still gone. And he wanted people to know that, because he didn't want people to think that because he won he left, or because he lost he left. Right. He wanted to make it known that he had other plans, and he had
and he didn't want people to think it was because of one way or the other, and he did it the correct way. Like he timed everything out perfectly.
And then we start seeing him pop up on Instagram with that brand new Porsche.
Yeah, bro pops out of nowhere with a Porsche, a Pennzoil Porsche, and
drifting an old 911 around. And I mean, me and Braden, I
don't think it's a 911.
I'm pretty sure it's a 911.
I'll search it up.
He also doesn't really know what a 911 looks like, apparently.
Shut up. I know what it looks like.
We'll be driving down the road and be like, oh, there's a 911. Oh, it's not.
I'm trying to.
But for any Formula Drift person who knows, and I'm sure like early car people, a 911's not that easy to drift.
Well, they aren't drift. They're race cars. They're not drift cars.
Right. So I mean, him doing that's like.
That's what makes Chelsea Denofa is that he does things
along with his personality,
and that is the fact that he does things that no one has ever seen before. It's a Porsche Cayman.
So it's not a 911.
It is not. I didn't think it was because it doesn't look like one. I'll put a photo up on screen for you guys. But yeah, so it's a Porsche Cayman.
Maybe a little side clip of him sliding around.
Oh yeah, that'll definitely go in. but yeah, so he's been up to a whole bunch of cool stuff. Obviously, we all want to see him return, and Chelsea Denofa has always been my favorite driver before he won. I'm not biased. So I first found Formula Drift and discovered Formula Drift back right after the end of the 2021 season. So it was like November going into the 2022 season. And then ever since then, Denofa was my favorite driver just because of his style of driving. Because every single run would be just flick it and see what happens. Because I would just show a compilation of him just throwing these crazy reverse entries into these drifts, and it's absolutely crazy to me how he does it. But I'm pretty sure in 2022 or 2023 he won or 2021 is that he won like the most style in a driver.
Yeah.
So sorry to pause the podcast, but it was at this point that our cameras turned off that I mentioned earlier. So for the rest of this podcast, it will just be videos of Formula Drift. All right, so moving down. So I put on here Jeff Jones. He's in the red 370Z, and
absolute goofball.
Bro is such a goober. In St. Louis when I was there, I saw him playing cornhole with fans. Yeah. Bro had cornhole outside his tent. So basically, for those who don't know, this is like the best personality in Formula Drift. Like he has. No one does what he does personality-wise. Like, because if he makes it into the top 16 of that event, him and his crew will do like some goofy dance. Because I think in Englishtown he did the Deadpool bye 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 dance, and it's just so funny. I want him to win because of the fact that he's just so cool, and I like having him around. But also the fact that Jeff Jones was the one who took down James Deane in Seattle, which, just to be noted, is that was the first event that James Deane didn't podium for like the past 20 events or something like that. Because I remember he podiumed all of the last Formula Drift events of that season, of the first couple ones of this season, and then he podiumed all the ones in Drift Masters too. I'm just so speechless with James Deane's performances. I just don't understand it.
This is not a James Deane podcast, I promise.
All right, so it's not a James Deane podcast, but when you think of the 2024 FD season, you will think of James Deane.
Absolutely.
And that will be forever what happens because of how we dominated. Also, one thing to note, sorry to keep going with James Deane, but he was almost the first Formula Drift driver in history to win the championship before the final event.
Oh, yeah.
Which was crazy. Because he was so far in the lead that if he would have beaten Odi Olsen in that Final Four during that event, then he would have been so far in the points, it would be statistically impossible for second place to come across and beat him. Which is crazy. But Odi Olsen ended up beating him that event, which caused him to not get that. Okay.
But they did say that even though like he legitimately just had to make it into he was already into top 32.
Right.
So as long as his car made it to the starting line
of
this
Irwindale.
event
Of
of
Irwindale.
Irwindale, he won.
Yeah, so
And obviously, his car's going to make it to the damn starting
right.
line. So
Because basically, even if he lost that event or lost that top 32, he still would have earned enough points to secure the victory. So all he had to do by the judges is literally do a burnout in the burnout box and then pull up to the line, and then he's your champion.
boom, you won.
Right.
Which I think personally, it would have been cool that, like, okay, yeah, they announced it. But the thing that I didn't like, and some people may be thinking different, I think they should have waited for the victory lap and this and that at the end. Because, like, sure, it was, okay, you're rewarding him, but you're giving somebody in the middle of an event a victory lap.
Well, but it was the same thing for Chelsea Zadova last year, too. Because Chelsea Zadova was announced the winner in the middle of the event. Because it was Simon Olsen was the only one who could have beaten him in Irwindale to take the win. But I don't remember what it was. But it was Chris Forsberg versus someone for the deciding battle. But since Chris Forsberg won, I believe, it basically knocked out Simon Olsen's chance. So I mean, last year Chelsea Zadova was announced the champion in the middle of the event.
Well, yeah,
it just happened for James Deane earlier in the event.
Right. I just mean, like, even well, I mean that adds on to it. Like that goes with it. Is yes, announce them and sure, like, you can have a quick run through, but recap it at the end. Give them the lap at the end.
But the thing with, like, the judges and with the point system at Formula Drift, it's just simple math. So, because I was seeing like Instagram comments and Reddit posts about after Utah, the last event, of people saying, like, wait, doesn't James Deane just have to pull up to the line? And we were like, yeah, I think you're right. Like, all he has to do is do that. So people knew that he was going to be at the championship before even Irwindale. So it's just simple math. So everybody knew that he was winning, or he was going to be the champion before even the event. So
yeah, and I mean,
so there's really no point.
I'm not upset that, like, he's the champion, or he was announced when he was announced. That's what I'm saying is I just think that he should have waited for the victory lap and the whole confetti and then the long interview that took up like another hour of the stream or whatever it was.
Well, the stream crashed. So
yeah, the stream crashed for a while, you know.
All right, the last thing that I have on the drivers to mention is the Sorensens, because there's 3 of them now. For a while, there's only been 2: Amanda Sorensen and
Brandon.
And Brandon Sorensen. Brandon Sorensen is in pro. He's a pro driver, but his sister, Amanda Sorensen, is in pro spec. And the cool thing with that is that, is that Brandon Sorensen got the victory in, he got 3rd place in Orlando this year, which is his first podium. And then literally the next event, Amanda Sorensen also placed on the podium. I think it was either 2nd or 3rd. I can't remember, but
they're the Air Force team.
Yeah, so they're sponsored by the U.S. Air Force, and that's why we have all the ceremonies and stuff at the top 16, like announcing the like new recruits. Yeah. That like they do the oath of enlistment.
He's the Air Force driver I was talking about earlier.
Right, yeah. So that was really cool. It was back-to-back podiums for the Sorensen family. And then I heard them drop a little bit of news for was that they have another brother who's very young. I think he's like 14 or 15, who just got their Pro-Am license, which is basically like the Pro-Spec of Pro-Spec. So hopefully he'll be in a Formula Drift sticker soon. But yeah, so that's all the drivers to mention. James Deane killed it. Odi Olsen killed it. Connor Shanahan, great driver. Minowa won't forget this event ever. Never. Because we have a friend named Braden, and that was the first time we ever took him to a drifting event. And before that, he was only interested or knew anything about was like NASCAR and drag racing. So, what was I going to say? So, yeah, we took him to that event, and bro was jaw dropped. He was pretty bored in the top 32, but then once the sun went down and the tires started screeching real loud, he was amazed by what he saw. And like at the end of the event, we were like, "So what do you like now? Drag racing or drifting?" And he goes, drifting. And we were like, that's right. All right. Now I have a list of drivers who fit this said category. So who do we think is the smoothest driver on grid this year? I have my answer already ready, but I want to hear yours. Who is the smoothest driver this year?
Honestly, Osbo.
That's my answer. Because if you look, because I wrote this question down while I was watching Irwindale, when I was watching his lead run versus James Deane. But if you watch that, he puts the car to angle, but then there is no corrections. He is
it's just so
on that wall.
He's so structured and he's so by the rule book.
It's so good.
I mean, like, whenever I first started watching Formula Drift, like 5 years ago, whenever me and you started going to STL for the first time.
That was 2 years ago, but
2 years ago. Okay. I watched it a couple times before, but
okay.
Dude, it's been a bit.
Anyways,
watching it online and then going and seeing it for the first time 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Osbo's always, I loved, please switch back to the black and gold.
Oh,
Rockstar.
his old
Please switch
Rockstar
back.
design.
Please switch back.
Yeah, I mean, I like kind of the Stormtrooper feel that he had with this new.
Yeah, I like the
I like
the Rockstar, the sugar-free Rockstar.
Well, I think that's what they were promoting because they have a sugar-free, which is the white bottle,
Right.
which is kind of what they were going for, I assume.
But oh man, that black and gold,
the gold looks just
Darth Vader looking.
Have you seen Frederick Osbo's really, really old car where he was sponsored by Need for Speed?
I think
he had a Need for Speed car.
Yeah, I think that was the first time that I seen him.
Oh, really?
Online, I was like, ooh, well, I mean, it looks pretty sick. And then it was like a year or two later, and I was like, that black and gold though
is so nice though.
That black and gold though.
All right, so
and
Frederick
not even just
Osbo,
the car, but the way he drives.
It's so easily he's the smoothest. He's the smoothest driver. So all right, so the next question is, we both have the same answer for this. I already know, so we're gonna say it at the same time. The most aggressive driver. 3, 2, 1. Matt Field. 110%.
By far.
He's just so aggressive.
But I like it.
But it gives the taste that we want to see in
right.
FD.
Like, especially, I mean, there's a lot of drivers that can compete to James Deane. Mm-hmm. But the way that if Matt Field would almost be a little more by the book like Osbo, like robotic wise like Osbo, but continuous aggression, I think he'd kill it.
Dude,
he just needs to almost like learn his car a bit more.
Yeah, and I feel like because I heard like after, because I think it was 2 years ago, Brandon Sorensen. I think it was Brandon Sorensen. Don't correct me if I'm wrong, but Brandon Sorensen hit Matt Field in Englishtown 2 years ago. And Jared Deanda goes, all right, he gets hit again. Matt the Pinata Field.
Yeah.
And we're like, I mean, if you look back, I mean, Frederick Osbo hit his back into the wall. Big crash in 2022. I feel like Matt Field's always getting punched. But
always.
Well, flashback to when he hit James Deane last year.
Yeah.
Into the wall, totaling his car once again.
Yeah, that was a big hit. And that was obviously a big scare for James Deane.
Well, that was the worst crash in Formula Drift history.
He broke his collarbone.
But
and then he still wound up winning.
And then he casually got third in the event with a broken collarbone. With a broken car. Bros, I could talk about James Deane for 10 hours straight.
Right.
Next driver, so most aggressive is Field, but then the next one is, what is our favorite driver this season?
See, I've been thinking. I got a couple. In between.
All right, let me hear it.
Osbo, Matt Field,
and
Hiroya.
Hiroya Minowa. That's mine. That was mine this season. Hiroya Minowa was the one that I was always looking forward to watching because I always wanted to see the kid win. Mm-hmm. And I was rooting for him so hard.
I think whether
St. Louis
whether
did
he's
so
your
hard.
favorite driver or not, or you honestly may even dislike him, I don't think anybody could not be looking forward to see him drift.
Correct. Like,
whether you like
see
him or not.
A 14-year-old who can't drive on the road next to him can win a championship behind the wheel.
Right.
It's something you got to look at. It's something you can't overlook. Yeah, so Minowa is my answer for sure on that one. And then Okay, so now is who has the best sounding car and the best looking car. So I got my answers for these two, but
sounding.
I don't know if you know this driver, but my favorite sounding is Forrest Wang.
I mean, I've heard of him. I just don't know him clear enough.
So his car has a really loud turbo, and like every couple seconds, it's so nice to listen to.
I love the turbo, but I'm also a big like greasehead and
right.
love loud. So Hearst and any Mustang ever. So Deane. But also, if you listen enough, Hiroya.
Really?
This car sounds pretty good.
Does it?
But
I didn't think it was anything special.
It's nothing special. It's just, it works.
Okay.
It works with the car.
I mean, it makes sense.
Right.
It makes sense for what it is.
Right. For the car it is, it just, the exhaust, the look, it just works. Now, if this was last year and you asked me that question on the best looks, Osbo. I mean,
Osbo. The gold. Bring it back.
I mean,
please.
It's just the black and gold.
We're gonna start fiending over that car, dude. It's so nice.
I dream about it. I dream about owning it.
Don't we all? No, but all right. So best sounding for me goes to Forrest Wang, and then the best looking, this year. Best looking this year. I know I had an answer, but I forgot what it was.
It's so difficult for me. I mean, Hearst looks good. The chrome's nice.
I'm trying to think.
It's a beautiful car.
I'm trying to. I'm gonna have to. I mean, I really like the blue and orange on James Deane.
Yeah. I like the black, green, and blue, and a little bit of pink from Vaughn.
Yeah, that was good too. That was
the
good
blue
too.
On the side skirts, the green a little bit in the front, black, and then the pink butt. It just kind of works.
But yeah, so and then also as I was just looking through the Instagram, I forgot to mention that Turk and Odi's crash in Irwindale. God, I hated that. No, so basically what happened was Turk hit the front wheel of Odi, causing him to straighten out and get pinched into the wall. Basically, that's all I can add to that. It's just it was not a good crash. Both cars were totaled. Both of them.
Odi could have won the entire.
I bet he could.
He could have won the whole
honestly,
year.
no, I would have really liked to see Odi versus James Deane in the finals.
Yeah.
I mean, because James already won the championship, but I would have liked to see them go up against each other again. Okay, so all right, cool. So the next one is who is the most up and coming driver? Minowa.
I was just about to ask you, like, who's already in pro, or you want to talk more prospect? Because
no,
to me would be like
prospect.
Cool.
So in prospect, I'm really looking forward to Connor O'Sullivan. Do you watch prospect?
Not a lot. That's where I was like, if you were talking more about prospect, it's kind of like it's a one-man army over here.
Right. No. So I did watch all the prospect this year, and I'm really looking forward to Connor O'Sullivan. I really want to see Zendara Kennedy. She's a female driver. I really want to see her in pro.
I remember.
She's really I get the chance to talk to her. She's really cool. All right. So then we do have to kind of wrap this up. We do only have like 20 minutes left in class, but before we do that, so second to last thing on my notes is what are our 2025 predictions?
Hiroya.
I want Hiroya Minowa to place top 5. I want
screw that. I want him to win.
No. That's if James Deane's competing or not.
He has such a potential against Deane.
He really did.
Like,
but I'm saying
almost beat Deane.
He probably should have, honestly, if we have to
rewatch
the tape.
Personally, I mean, maybe a little biased because I love that kid, but he should have won. I wanted to see him win. Everybody, like, no joke, if you rewatch the very, very end when they announced the winner at STL, everybody was like, suspense. The winner is. And then finally they say James Deane. Everybody went, oh.
Like, it's funny. It's funny because we were there.
Everybody was hoping for Deane to lose. Obviously they're still clapping because everybody loves Deane. He's a great driver. I mean, obviously we could talk for hours and hours and hours about that.
Correct.
But
I think there would have been some structural damage to those bleachers if Minowa won.
Oh yeah,
we would have gone livid.
They may have,
Yeah,
but
so we could go into that for like forever. All right, so the last thing that I have on here is what would we rate this season out of 10? 10 being good, 1 being bad.
I'd say like 9.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. I'd give the season a 9 just because of these stories. Like I feel like every event you could tell a story next to a campfire. Like it was just such an eventful, such an emotional season.
Campfire's crazy.
Cooking like s'mores while we're talking about FD.
Right.
We would do that.
We would do that.
All right. It was definitely a 9 out of 10 season just because there were just so many good stories and it was just so emotional a lot of the events, and I'm probably not gonna forget this year ever.
It was a great year.
But yeah, I mean, is there anything else you can think of that you would want to add?
No, I mean,
we kind of touched everything we probably could have
there
touched.
There were a lot of things that I walked in here wanting to talk about, and I think I had covered pretty much all of them. I mean, I know you had your list, but I also had things that were on my mind that I just brought up. I mean, I kept thinking about Matt Field, that he's such a good driver. He just needs to learn how to take his aggression and the forward act and put it also with the rule book.
Then he could be a championship driver if he does that. For sure.
He's such a good driver. He's so good. Puts the power down, but he needs to also focus on hitting the zones and.
Yeah, I'm hoping to see him
have
for
to
the
not
2025
correct every
season.
3 seconds.
Right. All right. Well, I think that's it. Thank you everybody for watching our podcast.
Thank you so much.
But yeah, I mean, if you guys want to see more stuff like this, just let us know. Because I know we could talk about some of the off-season stuff that the drivers are up to before the school year ends.
Yeah,
we could do that. But yeah, so thank you guys for watching. Really good podcast. Kaboom! Like Big Hero 6. It's just like fa la 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 la. All right, bye.
See you guys.